Hello. Today we're going to do a classic dessert, creamed caramel. So the ingredients we're going to need for this dessert today is the following. So the first thing we're going to be making is the caramel. Now you need 100 grams of granulated sugar. Now this can be standard sugar or you can use caster sugar. You also need 125 mils of water. First of all, you need 100 mils of water in your pot. You need to set aside the 25 mils and that will be added later. Place your 100 grams of sugar into your pot. Do not stir, then place it onto the heat. Okay, with the sugar and the water, what you need to do is place it onto the heat, and we want to bring this up to the boil and we want to caramelize it. Be very, very careful if you have gas or you have electric hobs. It has a tendency of gas wanting to burn on the sides before the sugar is actually cooked correctly. Also, we want to avoid any of the sugar crystallizing on the side of our pot. If this starts to happen, then what we need to do is with a brush and water, just go around the sides. The more water we add into there, the slower it's going to take to caramelize, but we do not want crystals in here. So as you can see, it's actually boiling. We need to control this temperature. We don't want it to be boiling over. Now the faster the boil is, the more chances of sugar crystals actually forming on the sides. So we need to have a little bit of control as we're doing this. So with this, what you need to do is have a look. You can see that the bubbles have actually changed now. It's not a lot of rapid little small foaming bubbles. The bubbles have got bigger, but it's not foamy on the top, which means the water is actually reduced. So now you've got to keep an eye on it, controlling the temperature, but also checking on the sides for any sugar crystals. So you're able to see that the bubbles are actually changing now. The bubbles are not as foamy as they were before. The sugar is now turning into more of a sugar thick syrup rather than diluted sugary water. Now is the time to be very careful. We want to ensure no crystals will start to form around the sides of our pot. If any crystals start to form, with a pastry brush dipped in water, just gently go around the sides. Now the more water we add to this sugar syrup, the longer it's going to take to caramelize. So we need to reduce that down as much as possible. So you can see it went back to being all foamy because that addition of that small amount of water has changed the sugar content, but that will disappear very quickly. So now you're going to see that this sugar syrup is starting to get very thick now. The colour is going to start to change to a very slight amber colour. Now that's when we've got to be very, very careful that we do not burn the sugar. For those who are using gas, it's very important that you're keeping an eye on the sides. On a stovetop like I've got here, induction, it's actually a more even heat. So as you can see, it's turned to an amber colour nice and evenly rather than starting from the sides, working its way in. So keep an eye on it. We do not want it to colour too much. So you can see a nice caramel colour. I can smell the caramel. Place it into a water bath. Allow it to cool down. Once it is cooled down, then I can add my water to it. Now be careful, this is very, very hot sugar. As you can see, just move this around, turn the element off, and this is going to become our caramel sauce, which is going to be placed on the bottom of our moulds. So to the side here, what I've got, I'm making do, being at home because of this lockdown that we're currently in. Rather than using the ramekins that we would normally use, which has got nice straight sides, I'm having to use coffee cups. A little bit more difficult getting out of the mould, but we'll make do under our circumstances. Just making sure I mix this all up nice and evenly. Once again, be careful you don't get any splashes. So I've got 4 cups here, so this recipe should do 4 portions on a normal ramekin. So try and divide this evenly onto the bottom. Make sure that you've actually preheated your oven to 120 degrees Celsius. And the ingredients we need for our custard is, for the custard we need 500 ml of milk, 4 eggs, 50 grams of sugar, caster sugar, depending on what you have available at the time, and 3 to 4 drops of vanilla essence. If you want it to be a little bit stronger, add a little bit more. I've already placed it into my milk, and now I'm going to place it onto my heat and just bring it up just before the boil. So I'm going to scald the milk. While the milk is heating, place my caster sugar in with my eggs and whisk. Let that sit to the side until my milk is ready. I've scalded my milk. You can see that the bubbles are just formed on the top. Don't want it to boil. To me, I don't like the flavour of boiled milk. Then I just pour this into my egg and sugar mix while whisking. I want this to mix through. As you can see, we have a lot of bubbles on the top, which is not what we want in a cream caramel. What we want in our cream caramel is to be a solid, firm custard without any air bubbles. If there's air bubbles in there, generally that is because we haven't removed it from here or our oven was too hot. If it looks like Swiss cheese, generally it has the flavour of egg rather than being a nice, beautiful, delicate cream caramel or egg custard dessert. All right? So what I need to do now is remove some of these bubbles. There's 2 ways I can do this. I can let it settle for a while, just sit there, some of those will disperse, but we're going to lose some of the heat from our custard. So for this here, this exercise, what I'm going to do is scoop it off with a spoon. So just gently try to get rid of the bubbles. Sadly, it is a little bit of a waste. Now I've got most of the air bubbles out of my custard. There's still a few more. I've still got to get rid of them once they're actually into my cups. But what I'm going to do now is just evenly pour the custard into the cups. So I've got this in the cups. Now I'm going to get rid of any of these excess bubbles. Okay. So I'm happy with this here. The next thing I'm going to be doing is having this as a water bath. So I need to place water into the bottom of this roasting tin. Then I'm going to be placing a cover over the top. And I'm going to be using baking paper. I prefer at work to use greaseproof paper. Reason is, it's a lot cheaper than baking paper. We place this on the top and then I'm going to weight it. So I'm going to pour some water into here. Now it is hotter than blood temperature. I don't want it to be boiling, but I should be able to still place my fingers in there. Checking the temperature. Okay, it's a little bit warmer than blood temperature. It could go a bit hotter. 100 degrees would be actually more ideal, but this is going to be okay for what I'm going to do. Now I've got to carefully put this into the oven, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to cover this. Because of the size of my tray, I'm using 2 pieces of baking paper. Placing it over there so it goes over to the sides. Then I'm going to weight it with some wooden spoons. If you don't have enough wooden spoons, you can use metal spoons. I'm going to put another one in the center here. Now the reason for doing this, instead of using tin foil, if I seal it, it's going to become a pressure cooker. So even though my oven is currently at 120 degrees, it will get a lot hotter in there, which will cause air bubbles to be in our custard. This way here, if any excess heat starts to build up inside, it's able to vent out. It's going to stop dry heat going in there and putting a skin on my custard, but it's going to allow moist heat to disperse. So this is what I need to do. But to carry it in, it's going to be a little bit difficult if I can't see the water swishing around. So I'm taking my paper off, the spoon's off, going to place it into the oven as you can see here, and then I will put that on top. So very, very careful. You can actually place the water in when it's in the oven. Set it for 30 minutes. So I'll place the cream caramels into the oven, 120 degrees for 30 minutes. As you noticed, I place it in the oven. I like to do all baking at the bottom third of the oven. I don't like it to be too close to the bottom because it will cause things to burn. And if you have it too high, well, it's getting too close to the top elements. So I like everything to be around about 1/3. Reason why is we generally cook within a tin. So we've got bottom heat coming up. We've got the tin. We've got to heat up that tin to get it to be the same temperature as the air on the top. We don't normally have anything covered. In this case I do in the cream caramel, but general baking, we don't have anything on the top. So I don't want things to burn on the top. I need the base to cook evenly. So for me, always 1/3.